Sometimes, you know, more motion in the right hand is more of an effective way to go for expressing an idea. And, you know, in that kind of rhythm playing, you get this sort of rhythm going, and then you kind of add pieces. Well, see, what happens for me is I play in a three-piece most of the time, and so you know I try to find ways to fill out the sound. A lot of times I let strings ring. I mean, any string I can get away with ringing, I do. Like, meaning like if I'm playing a line, I'll play it like. So I'm hitting these two high strings. That kind of fills out the sound. And on one of the songs on the record, Catch Up to Me, I have a kind of a cool rhythm track that lives underneath that I use my Leslie speaker cabinet with. But I have the strings ringing, the open strings, when I'm still playing chords. So. Thing goes on. It's kind of a simple part, but it does something that, you know, might seem a little strange to some guitar students, where you have the regular D thing happening here, and then I kind of slide up and play the low note with my thumb. So. And so the whole riff goes like a... So in what I was doing there, you notice there's a lot of chromatic stuff that I'll do, you know? And I mix the legato together. It's kind of interesting for me as far as guitar playing. A lot of times I get asked to play licks. I don't really have licks. When I get going and get inspired, I just kind of play with the music. So it's hard for me to kind of dissect stuff and say exactly what I'm doing. But in what I played just there, you'll notice I do a lot of sliding when I go in and out of phrases. Like right there. And so like in that phrase, you'll hear like a couple of triads spelling out the chord change. If I was against a C right there. So in my mind, when I played that, the chord change went like that. And even when I went to that note, in my mind I was hearing the chord change go back to a C again, so I got another major triad. But I'll do a slide here, which gives you like a major 7 sound. And then some chromatics, just some passing tones. Now at the end there, you know, in that phrase you saw me go up into some pentatonics. And I do that sort of pivoting type technique. I do that a lot. And it allows me to kind of be expressive playing quickly but staying in a convenient position for the shape of my hand. You know, I throw in some arpeggios once in a while there. You know, E minor arpeggio into a B minor, hit a D major, up on a G. So you'll get me going like probably not the cleanest execution in the world, but there's a concept there, I suppose. And that's kind of, you know, that's the kind of a lot of the tricks that I use when I play. You know, not a lot of thought goes into it or a lot of practice in these days, but you know, usually when I'm playing with the band and I get going, if I'm inspired, you know, those are the kinds of things that the tools that I have at my disposal in order to play the notes that I'm hearing mentally in my head. So hopefully that's a little bit of a helpful, quick guitar lesson on how I play. And it's kind of like a double. Two taps, go to the next string and do 2 more. And that's kind of the gist of the lick. And there you have a little bit of Richie tapping, like the old days. And so the other thing a lot of times I get asked is what do I use on the record, equipment. I play Fender guitars, and I have my own model, which I'm holding now. It's a Strat. And I have a Telecaster model, which a lot of people that are familiar with me are familiar with that guitar. And the cool thing about the guitar, I added a tuner. That's kind of cool. So it lives right here under the volume knob. And there's a battery in here, and the whole circuitry is this little disc. It's made by a company called N-Tune. It's really a cool device, and I'm putting it in all my guitars. You pull it out, it turns off the volume, and then you hit the string, and it tunes it just like that. It tells you when you're in tune. There's a green light that goes on when you're in tune, and if you're out of tune, you know, it flashes flat or it'll flash sharp. So it's pretty cool. And then the amp is the same old thing with me. I have the Cornford Richie Kotzen model, and I also use Fender amps for some of the overdubs. I have a Fender Vibra King that I actually used quite a bit on the record, and it sounds really cool when you crank up the volume. It gets a really kind of gnarly distortion, and like you can hear it in the beginning of You Got Me and Your Entertainer. The rhythm is both through that Vibra King. It just gets a real unique distortion. There's 3 10s in there, and you know, it's a pretty cool amp, another hand-wired type situation. So those are the amps, and then I have an effect pedal that's really cool that I use live all the time, and it's this thing right here. It's called a Zoom G2R, and this is my model that I programmed. I programmed effects that made sense to me, that I knew, you know, I'd use, and when I play live, it's primarily a delay and a reverb, and I put it on top of my amp. I don't put it on the floor because there's a tap pedal here for the delay, so I can just go up there and tap the setting that I want for the tempo of the song, and then I leave it alone. And then if I don't want the delay, I go down to this setting, and it's a reverb. And so I switch between the reverb and the delay, and that's primarily what I use it for. But it does a lot more than that. It does a lot more. But I've always been kind of one of those guys that was pretty simple with my rig. Probably because I'm pretty simple-minded. That wasn't too funny of a joke. Anyway, so that's it. That's what I got. Those are my toys. Not too many things, but they're effective. All right, there you have it, and that's my Young Guitar DVD guitar lesson for my new record Peace Sign, and I hope that everybody had a good time checking it out, and I will see you next time I play back in Japan.